Classroom to courtroom, what rural law really looks like. I'm Kathy Law, and this is Law on a Gravel Road. And my guests today are Emerson and Ashley. They're students at Drake University Law School, and they had an interesting experience last summer, internships at rural Iowa law firms. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Thank you both for taking time this afternoon. I know with being end of the semester, it's getting close to finals. I know time is at a premium for both of you. So I really appreciate you doing this for me. So first, Emerson, what made you decide you wanted to be an attorney?
I think I knew that I wanted to help people, and then I also knew that I did not like blood. So I had to cross off like doctor, medical, anything. And then, yeah, I was just able to kind of, watch through movies and TV shows and see these lawyers, seeing people actually being able to help people and change their lives. And yeah, that's kind of what got me interested in it.
And where are you from, Iowa?
Yes, yeah. I'm from Wilton, Iowa. It's a small town, like 30 minutes from Iowa City in the Quad Cities.
Okay, and what about you, Ashley?
Yeah, so I am originally from Northwest Iowa, a town called Lamar's. I grew up on my family's farm and didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew I kind of wanted to do something in agriculture. So when I decided to go to school, I got an ag business degree, and while I was at school, I had the opportunity to intern for a senator, and I really got to see how our judicial and legislative systems both really played a role in shaping agriculture, and lawyers were kind of at the front of that. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I decided to go to law school, and now 3 years later I can say it was a really great choice.
Now, you both mentioned you are from rural Iowa, but when you went into law school, what did you think that rural law practice might look like?
Yeah, I mean, I really struggled with that because I know like in my small town it just wasn't really seen, at least for me. I knew like some companies would have some lawyers, and we had just one in town. So I really just, didn't know what to expect. I thought that they did things and they were busy, but yeah, for the most part, it was, just not really talked about very much.
Okay, what about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I definitely don't think I gained really any thoughts about real practice until I came to law school. And I am sad to say, I definitely probably thought it was maybe a little more old-fashioned, maybe slower pace. I hate to say it like this, but fewer opportunities maybe, which I'm really glad I had the experience to know that that wasn't the case.
When you came to law school, did you have any thoughts that you might want to go into real practice? Or how did that, are you thinking about it? Go ahead.
Oh, I can go first.
Ashley, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really know where I wanted to end up when I came into law school. I knew coming into law school that I just wanted to have a job. You spend so much money and time getting a degree, and so I just knew I wanted to go somewhere where I knew there would be a demand for legal services, and that was a really big reservation I had about going into rural Iowa. Was I knew that there was smaller communities there, and so I didn't know if there was going to be a demand for legal services. And also I didn't really know about rural practice because I was definitely leaning towards practicing in agricultural law, and I kind of thought rural practice was all general practitioners. And sure. I am glad to say that this past summer I had the experience to see that that is not true at all.
That is a common misperception.
Yeah. That
people think that rural lawyers have a general practice, but they can't specialize in anything.
Yeah.
So that's very common. What assumptions did you walk in with this summer?
I think, kind of going off what Ashley said, that it was like going to be a bit slower paced. Maybe I would, have a few hours where I wasn't doing as much. But that was quickly blown away as, you realize how much work that there is, and that like how much the community really needs your support, whether it was like looking at contracts, looking at wills or trusts, and even looking at like abstracts and getting into real estate. So there's definitely a need for it.
Okay. How about you?
Yeah, kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, definitely just the thought of how I thought that rural practitioners were only doing general practice work, and how that's really not true. There's so many that really specialize in areas of field that they're really areas of the law, that they're really passionate about, and that's something that makes me really excited. And also again, kind of going what Emerson said, just I thought that they weren't going to be busy, and I found out very quickly that they are very busy and they need a lot of help. So
That sounds great. So when you started law school, what did you think your career might end up like?
that's a good one.
I can go. I mean, I was able to talk to like a few people that have went to law school and were lawyers, and they kind of were just like, I had a plan, and then I decided I didn't like that, so I just switched so many times, or like I practiced like in contracts, but I hated the class. So in my mind, I was like, well, I'm just gonna try to stay as open as possible, try as many avenues. So that's still kind of where I'm at, still just, yeah, trying to like have the time and experience that being in law school gets you, where you're able to try so many things and figure out what you like or don't like, and yeah, get across that off.
I know you mentioned you thought you would probably be an agribusiness lawyer in some context when you went in.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you went into law school thinking?
Yeah, and I can still say 3 years later that that's definitely an area of law that I'm really excited to get into. I definitely wanted to do more transactional work coming into law school, and I got the really great advice before coming into to keep my mind open, and I've gotten to work in juvenile law and family law, and I found out that's also something that I'm really passionate about and there's a huge need for, so I definitely think I'm going to be doing that in my future too.
Now, are you a 3L this year?
I am, yes.
And you're a 2L,
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what were your expectations of working in a smaller community? I know you both mentioned you thought it would be slow-paced and general practice. Was there anything else that surprised you?
I think just like the attention to detail. My lawyer was very much about, making sure that the clients coming in feel really comfortable, knowing that, they are coming from these rural backgrounds and might feel intimidated by you coming in, maybe very hot and very, or even like we talked about like clothing too, and just being like, we can be a bit more casual. We're trying to make them feel comfortable and just be more of an aid rather than feeling like this intimidating kind of more urban thing.
Yeah, what surprised me was how needed I felt right away when I got there. They like truly needed me to work on projects. They had so much, and I really got to be hands-on and sit in on client meetings and head my own projects, obviously with supervision. And that was just something as a 2L, now 3L, I think that experience is something I couldn't get necessarily at any firm. And I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to do.
I'm sure they were very excited to have both of you come and be able to hand off some things to you and teach you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times rural attorneys don't get that experience, to mentor somebody and to help them get into the practice. So I'm sure they loved it. What was your first day like going into rural practice?
Mine was really exciting. I was able to, it was essentially just kind of meeting everyone. So I was able to, meet the attorneys, meet the staff that works for her. I was able to look at an abstract kind of quickly and then kind of gain, I don't know if there were any clients that day, but if there were, I might have, was briefly sat in on them. And then like we went around to the communities, the businesses that we kind of communicate with a lot, especially like the real estate agents, kind of the banking, just different things. So they knew my face. So when I came around, they could, see me and get to know me. And kind of the pro of living in that small town too, a lot of them did know me. So it was nice to catch up with them.
But that's really neat that they took you out and introduced you to people in the community. You wouldn't get that experience in Des Moines. Nobody would take you out and meet clients like that, especially your first day. How was your first day?
My first day, I walked in and I had an Outlook email already set up for me and projects in my Outlook email that they had been sending ever since they knew they hired me, which was awesome because I came in and right away I had things to work on. They also took me to the courthouse and showed me where the transfer book room was and showed me where I could find deeds and all the things and introduced me to everyone there. So very welcoming my first day.
What kind of work did you do during your summer experience?
I was kind of given a variety. I did mostly wills and trusts, but also, again, I was able to look at some abstracts, look at a few real estate things, and even a contract too. So they tried to, keep me in the loop, and my attorney just always wanted to bring me along to different things. So if she got any like interesting cases or something that didn't pop up as much, she'd be like, do you want to come sit in or come watch?
That's great. I'm glad you got that experience.
Yeah.
How about you?
I did a lot of estate work similar to you. I did a lot of municipal law, which is something that I never really realized was an interest to me, but it was really cool just seeing the different types of projects that come from a small town. I did a lot of real estate work and just a lot of general contract work too. Yeah.
Sounds like you had a well-rounded experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you get more hands-on experience than you thought you might?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, it sounded like they took you to court and different things too. So what were some of the hands-on things you got to do that you didn't expect?
Ooh, I think just even getting to just like sit with clients one-on-one and just trying to like develop relationships with them, that's kind of a big thing that my attorney really focused on, was like making sure that they knew about you, made sure that you had kind of common ground in something. So that was like coming from a rural background, and that was something. My attorney wasn't from Wilton, but she was from another small town, so she had like that connection. So making sure that you're building relationships within the community.
Okay, how about you?
Yeah, I think that the hands-on experience that I got was a lot of client meetings and interacting with clients, which is something that I think was super invaluable that I'll take in, and watching the other attorneys and how they answer questions and interact with clients. I also think I got so much feedback from all three attorneys that I worked for. I would send them drafts and they would send them right back to me, and there was just such a collegial environment that we could just bounce ideas off of each other, and they looked to me for input and I looked to them for input, and that was just super cool that opportunity was.
I think that's great that you both had those experiences, because that's something that law school really doesn't teach you, is how you interact with clients and how to do that and how to make them feel comfortable and confident and everything in your help. So I think that's great. Lots of people don't get that experience even in the first year of practice. Yeah. So that's phenomenal. Did you go to court, or did your attorneys have a court practice?
Mine really didn't. Okay. She was the city attorney for Wilton and then Durant, like the next town over. But yeah, it was more just transactional practice.
I think I went to court once. I went to magistrate court once, but other than that, not very much. Mine also didn't really do much litigation work. So.
Okay. Sounds like you met a lot of clients and got really involved with the clients and got that experience. Did you end up like running point on anything, like taking charge of different things, projects through the summer that you wouldn't have expected?
I did a lot of, 1023 like formations, private foundations, just because they could bill me out for so much less. So I was able to do that at a really big reduced rate for some clients, which I think is awesome that they wanted to help the community in that way. I also did a lot of estate planning on my own and then sent it to them, and we kind of went back and forth on that. So,
great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine might have been a little different just being a 1L. So just after getting through those basic courses, my attorney would she would at least supervise me for the beginning and then kind of let me kind of figure it out. And then if I had questions, come back to her and send her drafts. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was fully on my own, which I really appreciated. Yeah, just being a 1L first, I was like...
Yeah, it makes sense to have a little bit different experience.
Yeah.
So what do you think might be different with working with clients from a smaller community? Do you think there's anything different?
I think it really depends on kind of what their biases and what inferences that they came from. I know, at least from my small town, there wasn't that many lawyers or attorneys, so their kind of assumptions or biases come from like TV shows or movies. So yeah, there's kind of that, I would argue, a little bit of hesitance towards that's and just wanting to be careful and protect their assets and their things. So yeah, I think that's why my attorney was so like, make sure that they feel comfortable, kind of make sure that you're a friend than a foe.
Sure.
I think there's definitely a stigma in small towns that maybe the clients that walk through the door aren't as sophisticated as maybe a client you would get that walks through a firm in Des Moines, for example. But I think that I learned very quickly that wasn't true. If you're doing an estate with some farm ground in it, that's already going to be a multi-million-dollar estate right there. And a lot of times the attorneys that are working in smaller towns, it's not necessarily that they can't do those big things, it's that they just don't have the work capacity and the time to take on some of those bigger projects. It's not necessarily that they're not competent to do them, and a lot of them are very able to do it, they just don't have the resources. And so that was something that was really interesting to me, is that we still did a lot of really, really big deals and a lot of really big transactions and the things that kind of make us law students really excited to do, but is not something I expected to do when I came in this past summer.
Is there anything that the communities that you went to could have done to make your experience even better?
Ooh, I mean, I think it is hard coming from, I was raised there, so I did kind of have that background going in, but I do wish that maybe like starting in high school where this could be seen as a job that you could have. I mean, I really didn't see it, so it was kind of just what I saw from movies and TVs, and yeah, I hope that I liked it. So yeah, I kind of wish that, and then maybe hopefully in the future I could come like speak to high schools and try to kind of gain or have, just have more conversations just so they know that this is a possibility.
Yeah, that's great.
I truly can't think of anything different besides maybe more free coffee every day. We went on lots of coffee runs this summer. I was so welcomed, not just by the community, but also by the office in general. I was just some random law student that emailed them one day and they welcomed me and bought me a lot of free coffee this summer and a lot of lunches too. So
that's a great point. And you made a great point too, that a lot of people aren't exposed to the law as a career. And I think those opportunities, that's one thing the Bar Association is working on, is trying to let even elementary students and junior high and high school students know that this is something you can do as a career, because sometimes they're not told that. Yeah. I wasn't told that until I was a senior in high school when I talked to someone who said they were going to be an attorney, and I thought, I never even thought about that. But that was a lot of years ago, so maybe it's a little bit different. So did the experience you had this summer change anything about what you might want to do for your career when you're done?
I thought it was interesting to find so many possibilities of just keeping yourself on your toes, of finding, maybe you'll do real estate one day and then you'll switch to wills and trusts, or maybe you'll do something in criminal law. So I think that was really interesting and really cool to see.
Okay, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually ended up taking a job in the community that I'm going to go to and start, fingers crossed, after I pass the bar. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
The scholarship did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yes, it definitely
You're going
did.
to end up in a community. Is it near where you're from?
So I'm originally from Lamar's, and I took a job in Carroll, which is right by Jefferson.
That's my neck of the woods. So that'll be great. What did you walk away from that you think you might not have gotten if you were in a bigger market like Des Moines or gone to another larger city?
I think, definitely that hands-on experience, getting to touch wills and trusts, getting to write them. I knew, at least talking to a few of my colleagues, that they didn't necessarily get that chance, or it was a lot more like research-based, where mine was a lot less research and a lot more, just getting that experience, and even knowing what the forms look like, how to, even just little things like that.
Yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but same for me was experience. You kind of talk with your friends who are also in law school that do clerking jobs here in Des Moines, and they kind of tell you about their projects, and then I'm like, oh goodness, I have like 5 things I'm working on right now and doing all of this. And I just think that experience is truly something that I couldn't have necessarily gotten at a bigger firm that had more attorneys working on things, and it's something that I know I'll use in my future practice.
And you're going to have a leg up going into practice because you'll have already done some of these practical things and know how things are actually get done, and just not the theory that you learned in law school. So that's great. So did it challenge anything you thought when you went in? Did your experience?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty similar to kind of my assumptions going in, of just it being, a lot more of a slow pace. But I think it really challenged me to have more of a passion for rural practice, and having just more advocacy for it. I think, especially through just seeing how my community, at least knowing that like I was working there, then that's more people knowing about it, and getting more support in that. But I want to try to break those like biases and assumptions, and trying to let them see kind of what it's like.
Yeah, I feel like if it challenged me, it would be similar to you, that like there's such a need, and just being able to hopefully be a small piece of meeting that need is something that really excites me going into practice. So.
Have you had any opportunities since you went back to law school in the fall to talk to other students, in front of some classes or anything, to share your experiences?
Not in front of classes, but definitely for colleagues when they've asked kind of how my summer was, I was able to kind of expand and talk about it, especially, a few of them that maybe like mentioned interest in it, or at least like the transactional like aspects of it. I was able to kind of talk about, all the things that I was able to do, and they seemed, really interested in it.
Yeah, and for me, maybe it's a little different because I'm a 3L. I've had friends that are looking for jobs, and I'm able to be like, oh, I actually talked to this attorney who was also looking to hire me, and I talked to this attorney. So I just think that talking to 3Ls, there's definitely still people looking for jobs, and so being able to say, oh, I know that attorney in this small town has been something I've been able to do.
That's great. That's great that you're kind of spreading that too from your experience. What advantages do you think rural practice might have that other students might be overlooking?
I think just the overall, the like type of quality of life. I mean, that was something that a lawyer talked to me about a while ago, but just being able to have a bit of a slower pace, you get more breathing room, and you get to still have the passion for law. You get to still do exactly what you want to do, just in a like community that desperately needs it, and being able to make a difference, maybe even more than what you expected to, maybe in an urban area.
Great.
Yeah, I think people are really overlooking the community aspect. I agree with everything Emerson said, obviously. I think there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot of work in small towns, but also I think people are really worried, and I know a lot of people my age are worried that if they leave Des Moines or leave the bigger city, that they're going to lose the community that they have. But I would argue that the community in rural Iowa is something that really can't be beaten. There's a reason people want to move to small towns and start a family, and just the welcoming aspect, especially for a young attorney coming into town, was something that I'd never experienced before. I think I reached out to almost every attorney in the area, and they all offered to take me out to lunch and like just talk to me about their job. And that's just something that I don't know if I would have gotten in Des Moines if I was just emailing random attorneys. And so just the welcoming aspect is
I'm sure they're
that's
excited to have both of you there.
Yeah.
Your communities, and rural attorneys don't always get that opportunity to speak to younger attorneys and law students, so I'm sure they thought that was fantastic. How fast do you think someone can grow professionally in a rural practice? Do you think that makes a difference if you're in rural versus urban?
I would say so. I think, they really send you on the ground running. You're able to, touch so many projects, get to work hands-on, and just get to have that, here's what went well, here's what didn't, let's keep moving, and being able to grow in that way, where I don't know, going to especially a really urban area, if you're able to ever get that.
Yeah, I think what's really unique about rural practice is that a lot of larger firms, they have like the ladder, you have the stepping stones, you have to be there for so many years. And in rural practice, really, you just go and you work hard and you get to do a lot of different things, and that's your growth. And that's something that you wouldn't necessarily get if you went to a larger firm, and it's something I'm super excited about.
I think you have a better opportunity. You have more control of your growth in a rural practice. The harder you want to work or the more things you want to learn, you can do that at your own pace instead of someone setting that for you.
Yeah.
So that's great. So can you tell me a little bit about the RAJI scholarships? First, what does RAJI stand for? Do you know what the initials do?
Yeah, it's Rural Access to Justice Initiative.
Okay.
Yes. Did you know what it standed for?
I've heard of it, but it's panicky with the cameras. It's hard. It's like a cold call.
Yeah,
It is like,
can you tell me what do you get if you're a RAJI scholar? How does the process work?
yeah. I mean, I can speak to it unless you want to speak to it.
Yeah.
So you fill out an application and you say where you're going, what town you're going to go to, what firm you're going to work for, what you're going to do, just some really basic information. It's a very easy thing to fill out. And then you basically get a stipend that can cover anything from living expenses to travel expenses to food. I know that I used my stipend to pay for my rent this summer, and so I got to live rent-free, which was a huge expense for me and something I was really excited about. So yeah.
How much of a stipend do you get?
I believe it's 2,000.
2,000, yeah. But I know that it varies depending on the
I
student.
think
Yeah,
and the need.
in the need.
How many RAJI students were there last year, do you know?
I'd like to say 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Around
6
there.
range,
Yeah.
Okay. And did they had similar experiences?
I believe a few, yeah. I'm trying to, I believe. I think unfortunately we just haven't had any classes this semester with how crazy it is, but yeah, I was able to kind of look. I know the career development office did little like pieces on them on LinkedIn, so that was really cool to see and just kind of see kind of their responses to the questions too and be like, I felt that as well.
Yeah, I have a really good friend who also did it. She took a job in Clear Lake, Iowa for the summer, and she actually decided not to go back. But I knew that the stipend for her also covered her rent this summer, which was a huge expense for her, and she was really excited about it. So.
Well, and that's probably important because if you had an apartment in Des Moines, you
Yeah.
probably didn't want to give that up, and then you would have been paying double rent. So
Yes.
I'm sure that was valuable to help. Do you think RAJI's the kind of program that can make a difference in getting more attorneys in rural Iowa?
Definitely. I think it makes you such a huge difference to have kind of that weight off your shoulders of, having to deal with rent or living expenses, especially if you are moving to an area that's not your hometown. Just trying to figure out the support and just those stresses that could definitely hold students back.
Are there other things that come along with the scholarship? Any advice or guidance that you get?
I know that with mine, I was really worried about where I was going to live, and so I just talked to the attorneys at my firm, and they were kind of able to help find somewhere for me to go so I could come in. Just the money I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing too. I know my attorney, was big on just trying to find ways and seeing, since ours is a pretty small town, you'd have to look, just like what the housing, but luckily, we are so close to like Iowa City and the Quad Cities. So she was trying to look into different avenues and things, but luckily it was my hometown, so I was able to
Yeah,
back at
I feel
home.
like housing for the summer was definitely the biggest challenge when moving to the small town, but if the firm is excited to have you, I think that them helping you find it is pretty normal and easy. So.
They're willing to go the extra mile.
Did you have to find your own jobs, or did the law school help in that area? How did that work?
Yeah, so when I was talking to Lori, who's in the CDO office at Drake, about finding a job for last summer, she immediately was like, well, have you thought about real practice? And I was like, well, I might be moving to Carroll. My fiance lives there. He farms there. And she's like, why don't you just go there now? Like, why do you need to stay in Des Moines for the summer? And so I just started emailing people. And that's when they were all taking me out to lunch, and I was able to talk to a bunch of attorneys. And they were all so excited when I emailed them, which I was super nervous about just emailing an attorney out of nowhere. That was something that was really nerve-wracking for me. But I would highly recommend it to any law student that even has an inkling of where they want to go, because I can almost guarantee they'll respond positively.
That's great to hear. There's such a need, and I'm glad you both had good experiences. So what else do you think needs to happen to have the RAJI scholarships end up in a long-term development in changing rural practice?
Ooh. I mean, I think so far Drake has done a really good job like bringing attorneys in from rural practice and getting the chances for you to meet with them. I think it would be interesting to have more of them come to like classes and being able to hear from all the students rather than the students just choosing whether to attend these certain things, because I think sometimes they just are like, oh, I don't know, or maybe like they don't have the time necessarily. So I think it would be nice if they could have maybe like a 5 or 10 minute just little spiel and just try to develop those connections and just see and give them like a little more, like try to break those expectations maybe that they've had in their head of what real practice is like.
Do you have many rural attorneys come to Drake and for career days or to speak to classes?
Not that I know of, and that would be my biggest thing too that I think would really push the RAJI stipends, is just getting some of those rural attorneys in front of law students. I know that firms in bigger cities, they come to the law school all the time, which is awesome. And they give out their free merch and all the things, and they get to talk to the students. But I think if some rural attorneys could come, they're awesome people and they're so fun to talk to. A lot of times they're super interesting.
Yeah.
And just getting to sit and talk with law students, I think would go a really long ways. Also, posting jobs, I think, is huge. I know a lot of firms, they have attorneys retiring, but they're not necessarily posting jobs. And I think that if they would post jobs online, that they might not get a ton of people applying, but at least people would know and maybe throw their hat in the ring.
That's great. One thing the bar's doing, and we just started a new initiative, the bar has a career services board on our website, and that usually you have to pay for that, firms do, but we've just started a program where counties that qualify as legal deserts, all those attorneys can post job postings for free.
That's awesome.
And we're also launching a new website in a couple weeks that'll have lots of information on rural Iowa too, so we're hoping that'll help as well.
Yeah.
Did you talk to any of your professors about going to rural Iowa, and what were their thoughts, if you did?
Did you?
I believe I talked to Professor Swaggerman about it, who runs the Ag Law Center, and she was super excited for me and super supportive. I've got nothing from support from the professors that I've talked to about it.
How about you?
Yeah, I didn't. Since it was my hometown, I kind of, had that background. And I don't know if any of my, first 1L, class professors were, I don't know if any of them were even Iowa natives. Okay. So I didn't have that background.
Because I've heard different things that, that law professors sometimes try to steer people away from rural practice. Others are really good. I know Jenny Zwagerman, and I know Professor Linner at Drake and others have been very supportive of that too. But I've heard that from students from other law schools too, that sometimes that happens. So I'm glad to know that you guys didn't have that experience.
No, not at all.
No.
So about Drake, Drake's a fantastic law school. I'm a little bit biased because I went there, but what made you decide to go to Drake over other law schools?
Yeah, I can go first. I am a homebody. I love my family, and Drake was close. But also I was really interested in ag, like I mentioned before, and Drake had an ag law center. They have an ag law journal, which is something I wanted to be on. So that's kind of what drew me to Drake.
Okay. How about you?
Other than my name, which definitely helps. I came from Central Iowa. Central College from Pella. So it has smaller class sizes. So that's kind of what I was looking for in a law school, and coming from a small town as well. I was able to tour at Drake, and I just really loved the attention to detail that they have and just how much they make sure that students don't slip through the cracks.
That's great. And did you come in with any idea of what you might want to practice? I know you talked about agribusiness, but did you have a preconceived idea of what you might want to do?
I honestly really didn't. I was just really told that you'll change so much. So I really kept it open as much as possible. But I think I would advise students to have at least somewhat of an idea, just so that's one thing that they could check off if they, for the summer.
So Drake's known for its real world and practical experience. Have you found that, and what kind of real world practical experiences have you gotten at Drake?
Yeah, I would say legal writing is a big one. I think the legal writing course is definitely what's preparing us to go out and do our clerking jobs. We might have hated the course in a moment, but it's something that I think we really have a one-up on a lot of other clerks, maybe. I can't speak for other law schools. That's not dissing other law schools by any means, but they really prepared us in that way, and I think legal writing is something that I use every day when I am at my job, and I'm sure I'll use every day as an attorney too.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I really like the skills courses as well. They're usually taught by adjunct professors too, so it's fun to see. I took contract drafting this past fall, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. It was all pretty much hands-on experience too, where we would be in groups and talk through contracts, and it would be something the professor would say, I dealt with this yesterday, so here's kind of how to go through it. So it was less listening to lectures and textbook based, and it was more trying to give you life experiences.
I found that too. I went to Drake Law in my 40s. I was telling one of you earlier, but that's what I found too. I thought that it was a good practical experience, and the clinics and everything that Drake has are really good too. And in fact, in my first summer I was asked to draft some type of petition or something, and I already knew how to do that from legal research and writing, and the
Yeah.
other clerks had never actually drafted anything before. So I thought that was really valuable too. So how did you first hear about the RAJI program when you were at Drake?
I heard about it from Lori at the Career Development Center. That was something she really pushed, especially, I just wanted to get the word out for students, that were in rural practice to take the opportunity.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I had heard about it originally through 3L. Well, she graduated last year. She had done it when she was a 2L going to be a 3L, and she had a great experience. And then I also heard about it from Lori when I went in to talk to her about my career goals. So
That's great. I'm glad she's telling everybody, all the students about this program, because it's a good program. And did you feel supported by Drake as you went through your summer and through the scholarship program?
Yeah, it was really cool to get that support that I don't know if other law schools would have that opportunity. So it was just really cool to have that support and be able to use it in furtherance of our education and professional career.
yeah, absolutely. I think that there was a lot of support. I think what is kind of cool is that we didn't necessarily go to maybe like the big glamorous jobs that some of our classmates did, but I think CDO did a really great job of making us feel like we didn't slip through the cracks. Even though we weren't in Des Moines, I feel like we knew what was going on, and Lori did a great job.
So if you were talking to someone that is thinking about law schools, what would you tell them about Drake?
I think I would, just tell them how much Drake emphasizes you as a person rather than just a student. They really look to making sure that you're, being healthy, staying on top of things, and just making sure that you, again, don't slip through the cracks. So I think that's just really important. And I think just with the smaller school, which our class sizes keep rising too, which is good, but you're able to just develop really good connections with professors as well, which, I don't know if that's as possible with a bigger law school.
Yeah, I would say just go for it. Yeah.
What do you think students should take advantage of while they're at Drake? What would you suggest that they do if they want to attend Drake Law?
I mean, definitely the clinics. I've heard that. I'm gonna be in the general civil clinic next semester, so I'm really excited to get that hands-on experience. But everyone I've talked to just says it's just so good to get that experience in court and being able to, again, really draft things and get to see what you're interested in and what you're not.
Yeah, I never had the opportunity to do a clinic, but I've heard great things about them. I would say take advantage of the professors while you're there. I have gotten some really cool opportunities just by going to professors' office hours and talking to them and reaching out to them. Also, the adjunct professors there. I'm in a few classes with adjunct professors, and they are real attorneys, and so that's actually been really cool. And they also have a lot of great connections. So.
That's great. And you're doing a legislative internship, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's how I found it, was through an adjunct professor at Drake, and she connected me with Representative Losi, who actually does a lot of work with rural practice. So I've gotten to help draft some bills, which hopefully get passed at some point. He was at a meeting that I was at talking about rural practice, and I ran him down and said, will you let me be your intern? I don't want to be in class my last year as a 3L. And he let me be his intern, so now I get to follow him around at the Capitol and do whatever he needs. So it's been awesome. He's been great to work with.
He's just a champion for rural practice. And it's just, I've gotten to know him a little bit over the past year or two, and he's really passionate about it.
He is,
So that's good. So there's a bill in the legislature this year. Did you work on that bill?
I did help him with that bill. Hopefully it gets through still. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we're hopeful.
Yes.
There was an amendment that just got added to that bill recently. So we're hopeful that'll go through too. So that'll be great. So what would you say is one word to describe your RAJI experience?
Worth it.
That's a good word.
That's close enough to one word. Attorneys are wordy, so you get 2 words. What was your biggest surprise about doing it?
I think just how much rural attorneys have on their plate and how much is asked of them, and just this need that, hopefully we'll be able to keep supporting with the RAJI stipend. and with, hopefully more opportunities to get more attorneys in these legal deserts.
Yeah, I think that probably the sheer volume of work, I know we've kind of discussed that a lot. There's just so much work to be done, and you hear that in law school and you're kind of like, okay, like, yeah, there's work everywhere, but there truly is so much work to be done. Also, one thing that really surprised me, which we haven't talked about a lot, is how important attorneys are in the community. I also kind of like knew that attorneys were pillars of the community, but I actually met with an attorney and he told me, he was like, Ashley, if you come to Carroll, that you don't necessarily like just have a responsibility to get involved in the community, you have a duty to do something as an attorney in the community. And that's just something that I think a lot of rural attorneys take really seriously. And I know that's something I'm super excited to get involved in.
That's true. I mean, when you think about it, my rural community, the attorneys were the people that joined the school board, might be on the city council, or offered legal services to nonprofits and did all that advising. So they are really important to the communities as well.
Yeah.
What's one moment that stuck out with you from last summer? One particular case? We know you can't mention names or anything, but is there one situation that really sticks out in your memory?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think I just didn't realize how happy people getting their wills are. Like, I just didn't expect, I don't like much emotion, but people are just really happy to have that done, and you kind of feel like the weight kind of being off their shoulders, especially for like the older populations, and they come in there with their families. So it's just so nice to be able to help them take that burden away and have at least, being able to help them in that way.
Yeah, this is maybe more of like an overarching theme, but just the mentorship that I have from all three attorneys that I've worked with, specifically one, he's taken so much time out of his very, very busy workload to give me advice, and that's just something that I know that I'll take with me into my career, and is a relationship that I'm going to want to have for a long time.
If you could tell any law student just one thing about rural practice, what would that be?
Opportunity. Is that the word you're going to use?
There's your one word.
There's my one word. But I would say that, and I think that you can just have just such a successful and like prosperous career in rural practice, which I don't think that every student fully understands.
I hear a lot of self-confidence in both of you about your experiences, and that you got real world experiences. You got to do real legal work and got to have practical experience. I just see that you both have an air of self-confidence about you, that you can do this and you're going to be successful. Hopefully. So I think that's great for law.
Hopefully.
I think that's great for law students to feel that way and to know that from your experience.
I think especially after 1 L year too, or just like after you just got done with finals and you're feeling a little like unsure of everything. So it was just really nice to get those experiences and be able to and say that you can do these things.
Yeah. Is there anything else that either of you want to talk about?
I think, just making sure that students are aware too of, I think there's also the bias of like, maybe like you're stuck in this small town and that there's not anything to do, especially, I mean, we both grew up in rural communities, and I feel like that's the big stereotype is like, well, what do you do? And like, just what are these things? But there are so many, there's always something going on in a small town. There's always activities, there's always things to get involved in. And at least for my town personally, like you are closer to bigger cities too, so that's something people always have. But there's always restaurants, there's always little things that communities do that keep you involved and want you to be involved. So don't feel like you would be like trapped.
I also feel like there's maybe like a stigma if you go to a small town that you're not going to be like good for like changing the law in Iowa and changing the legal landscape, and I think that is just so not true at all. There's so many rural practitioners that are so knowledgeable in their practice areas and have found their niches and are really transforming the legal landscape in Iowa, and I know that's something I'm super excited to get into and hopefully find my niche in rural practice.
I think that's very true. A lot of the really good attorneys I know are from rural Iowa. So I don't think it matters where you practice. If you're a good attorney, you're going to be a good attorney. So, but there are a lot out there. And I don't know how they do the variety of practices that they do. That they're experts in lots of different areas of the law, where people in, like my practice, I practice almost exclusively in real estate. So I should be good at it if that's all I do all day long. And rural attorneys might have to, like you said, do criminal law one day and you might be doing something different and you kind of have to switch gears. So that really takes somebody that can really adapt to that and do well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming. I enjoyed visiting with you, and have a great rest of the 2L year and 3L, and looking forward to seeing you practicing in Carroll.
Yes, thank you.
That's right in my neck of the woods, so I'll have,
Yeah.
I'll have to look you up when I go home. So
Please
good luck to
do.
both of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.